We have an expression that when somebody feels something very spiritually or is moved in a certain way at times, they might use the expression, I had a mountaintop experience. That mountaintop experience comes from the many mountaintop experiences that are in the scriptures. You know, we have Abraham who went to a mountaintop to offer sacrifice to God. We have Moses who saw the burning bush and received the 10 Commandments at the top of a mountain. There are other examples in the Old Testament. But then we have this mountaintop experience in today's gospel, that Peter, James, and John went with Jesus up to Mount Tabor and had an experience of Jesus like none other. I don't know if many of you have had mountaintop experiences, but when you have them, there is an element that you don't want to stop having them, that you don't want it to end, you don't want it to stop. And we do like the words of Peter, like, I want to stay here. You know, Peter's word, I will let us erect 3 tents here. Let's just stay here. This experience is so wonderful. Now, if you haven't had an experience like that, you can't force yourself to have an experience. It's an experience that is given to us by the grace of God. But you can make yourself open to that experience. Those type experiences happen when you go to a holy place and spend time in prayer. It can even happen when you're just praying at home. It could often be at times in which you are fasting and trying to grow closer to God by denying yourself something in your life. It can even happen when you're with someone you're trying to take care of, whether it be the poor or somebody who is just in some type of pain or lonely at that time, that you make yourself open at those times to the mountaintop experiences. But the mountaintop experiences are to fortify us when we have valley experiences. You know, again, in Scripture, we hear about bad things usually happening in the valley. In fact, Psalm 23, I walk in the valley of death. Those low points in our lives, those low points in which we are in pain from loss, whether it be a death, a loss of our own health, loss of finances, a job, whatever it is, that we have those experiences in our life in which we are down. It's at those times that we have to look back to the mountaintop experiences, to look at those times in which we were fortified by Christ. You know, that's why we have the gospel today, and that's why Jesus had the transfiguration. He knew that these apostles would soon have to experience him dying on the cross. And this was to fortify them to know that Jesus is something more than they can imagine. They were about to go through a valley experience. I want to suggest that even in valley experiences, when we are done with them, can draw us closer to Jesus Christ. Again, I say usually when we're done with them, because when we're going through them, they're tough. But when they're over, hopefully we can look back and say to ourselves, where was Jesus in the midst of that experience? Where was Jesus to hold me up so I didn't collapse by the situation? Where was Jesus in the different people that came to help me during this valley experience? Where was Jesus at that time? And if we look back, we can see where Jesus was involved in our lives at that time. Today, as we hear about the Transfiguration. Jesus showing himself to his disciples to prepare them for the crucifixion. Let us always remember to reflect on those mountaintop experiences in our life and use them to fortify ourselves in the valleys.